All right, here we have the wax ivy plant. This is actually in the same kind of family as string of pearls. It's a senecio. But they're super easy to take care of and they're very rewarding. It's not like the hedera. Other plants that are referred to as ivy, they have a similar leaf shape, but they're very papery thin. These are waxy and sort of thick, almost like a Hoya. They're very Hoya feeling. And they are a vine. So they have succulent stems that store water and succulent leaves that store water. So they look very similar to a typical ivy, but they are much different, and I think they're way cooler. But let's get into the care instructions for these guys. They're gonna do best in bright light, especially because this one is variegated. If they're not variegated, they can take a little bit less light, more like on the higher end of medium light. But either way, if you want these to grow the best, you're gonna give them bright light, right up in a window with a super wide view of the sky. Next, let's talk about watering. So because these do have water storing tendencies, less is more with this plant. Not as much as like a full-blown succulent, but you do want to let them dry out about 25% to 50% in between waterings. During the wintertime, you can let it dry out about 50 to 75% between waterings. So they are fairly drought tolerant, but just make sure that you give them a really good soak when it is time to water them. Next, we'll talk about fertilizing. So during the spring and summer months, this is when the plant is actively growing, so we can fertilize them with a well-balanced fertilizer. Either a granule fertilizer is fine or a liquid-soluble fertilizer is fine. Just make sure it's something balanced and use as directed on the packaging. If you want to propagate this thing, or excuse me, repot this thing, what you can do is, I do 3 parts cactus soil or 3 parts very heavy draining material, something like sand or perlite or pumice stone, bark, something like that, and then mix it in there with 1 part like organic compost, something that's going to retain moisture very well, a container mix, if you will. Mix those 2 ingredients up together, and that's going to be a good, well-draining mixture for this plant. If you do want to propagate, it's just regular vine propagation. I have videos on that if you want to check those out. You can see how to propagate these. These are fairly cold tolerant too. I will mention that towards the end of this video. They can take it down to about 40 degrees, so it's perfectly fine to keep them outside for much of the year, depending on where you live. Here in North Texas, we can keep them outside for quite a long time until it reaches 40 degrees. Just bring them inside before that first frost hits and you'll be fine. And they'll grow much better outside, much faster outside with the brighter light. But that's going to do it for the care instructions for the wax ivy plant. I'm really liking this one. If you have any questions about this, let me know in the comment section below, or you can reach out to me via Instagram or Facebook at Tanner the Planter.